Hi, Domenica here from Easy Sewing for Beginners. In this video today I'll be showing you how to sew a buttonhole using the buttonhole foot on the Singer heavy duty sewing machine. Be sure to keep on watching till the end as I'll show you all the tips you need to get the perfect looking buttonhole with this machine. Now with this particular buttonhole foot you can set the buttonhole length by simply pushing this bit of the buttonhole foot up, and then you can place the button that you'll be using in the top here, push it back down. Okay, and that will hold the button in nicely. Next I'm going to remove the existing presser foot from the machine and we're going to attach the buttonhole foot. So I'm going to place that underneath, lower the presser foot lever to attach it and lift it back up. The next thing you need to do is pull down the buttonhole lever, which is found right here. It's got the word push on it. So you pull it all the way down and then just make sure it clicks. Okay, and the next important thing that we need to do is push it back as well. Heading up to the dials here, I tend to keep my attention on a 4. I suggest setting your width dial to 6. You'll want to select the buttonhole stitch and you'll want to change the length dial to the buttonhole option anywhere between the 1 and the 0. So I recommend while you're testing it, perhaps place it in the middle there. Next I'm going to mark where the buttonholes will be, just with using an erasable pen. You can use a chalk marker if you like as well. These marks will represent where the bottom of the buttonholes will be. Now before I start sewing the buttonhole, I'm actually going to get this top thread to run under the presser foot. So I'm just going to hold that top thread, pop my fabric underneath and just use my hand wheel to get the needle to go down and back up. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull that fabric out, and now my top thread is running underneath the presser foot. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew the buttonhole. So I've got my little line here that I marked to represent where I want the bottom of the buttonhole to be. So I'm going to make sure I can see that little line in the little gap in the buttonhole foot here. Okay, I'm going to lower the presser foot and make sure that it's right in the middle there. Now I'm also going to make sure that I'm holding the top thread out to the side, just to make sure that it doesn't get caught up and pulled out of the needle, as this machine tends to do. Just double check to make sure your buttonhole lever is pushed back and the needle should be all the way over to the right. Okay, so now I'm ready to put my foot onto the foot pedal, and the machine will start by doing a few stitches at the bottom of the buttonhole. And now it's doing the satin stitch up the side. Once it reaches that lever, you'll hear a click and the machine will start going back down the other side. Now when you get to the end, the machine won't automatically stop the buttonhole stitch, so you'll need to make sure that it only does a couple of stitches. Okay, make sure the needle's in the up position. Then you can lift the presser foot and remove the fabric from the machine. Next, I'm going to snip off the thread tails here. Then I'm going to grab the quick unpick that came with the sewing machine. So what I like to do is poke the pointy bit of the quick unpick in at the bottom of the buttonhole and then very carefully rip up the middle. And then when you get to the top of your buttonhole, just poke the top of the quick unpick in just before those top stitches and then keep on ripping all the way through. If you're worried about accidentally cutting through those top stitches, what you can do before you start ripping the fabric in the middle of your buttonhole is just place a pin just right at the top of your buttonhole before those top stitches, and then that will stop the quick unpick ripping all the way through accidentally. Okay, so I'm just going to test the button. There we have a perfect sized buttonhole for this button. So you might be thinking, this buttonhole looks okay, but I want something that looks a little bit more professional. So you might want something that looks more like this. So I'll show you what I do on this sewing machine to get this exact looking buttonhole. So to achieve that perfect buttonhole, it really comes down to the selection at the length dial here. So what I like to do is get the selection as close to the 0 as possible, but without it clicking onto the 0. So here, that's it clicking onto the 0, and I'm just going to bring it back slightly. I also recommend using some sort of stabilizer. I'm going to be using a tearaway stabilizer. This rips quite easily and makes it really easy to take off at the end. So I'm going to place this underneath where I'm going to be sewing the buttonhole. Okay, so like I did before, I'm going to place the fabric underneath the buttonhole foot. Now just double check to make sure that you push the lever back again. Every time you do it, you need to make sure the lever is pushed back. I'm going to hold that top thread and off it goes. Okay, do a couple of stitches at the end. So you can see by having that stitch length as close to 0 as possible, it's given you that nice satin stitched buttonhole look. Okay, so what I'd do, I'd cut off the thread tails, and then I'd simply rip off this stabilizer, and then use my quick unpick to open up the middle of that buttonhole. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments section down below. If you'd like to learn how to sew on a button using the Singer Heavy Duty Sewing Machine, then check out my next video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.